Big money made a huge comeback in 2022, more than matching the surge in small dollar contributions that had been kicked off by the Bernie Sanders campaign back in 2015 and that threatened to reshape the party. Now, one of the leaders of the big money counter-revolution is not a household name. He's a tech executive named Dmitry Melhorn, whose largest source of power comes from his connection to his college classmate, Reid Hoffman, the billionaire founder of LinkedIn, who, as Sagar was mentioning earlier on the show, financed the E. Jean Carroll lawsuit and otherwise has spent tens of millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars on Democratic Party politics and going after Trump. But Dmitry, as Democratic insiders all call him, using only his first name, has been good at organizing other like-minded mega donors as well, which means that he can now move tens of millions of dollars with the flick of a wrist. He has directed much of that money in alliance with the group Democratic Majority for Israel, targeting progressive Democrats in primaries, burying them under an avalanche of super PAC spending. So I interviewed him for my podcast, Deconstructed, which came out this weekend, and he laid out his explanation for why it is that he's been so heavily invested in undermining the left. And I asked him if he was going to continue that crusade in 2024, and his answer, I think, was revealing. Take a listen to this. How are you thinking about 2024 Democratic primaries? Do you guys feel like, and I've written about this before, but mainstream Democrats, the group that you mentioned, plus Democratic Majority for Israel, which works very closely with mainstream Democrats, really kind of transformed what was possible for, I think, progressive left-wing candidates in Democratic primaries in the last cycle. I'm curious if you think you have essentially tamed the left to the point where you're kind of moving on from Democratic primaries, or are you guys gearing up for another test in 2024 that if you see progressive candidates that you think are too progressive popping up, that the super PACs are going to come out guns blazing on them?
I think we're okay now. If you run a no-labels centrist like a Joe Manchin in every state, you will split the anti-Trump coalition, and therefore Trump will win. That's the risk. And I think it's a huge risk. It is one of the top 5 ways that Trump could get reelected is if Nancy Jacobson and Mark Penn and Joe Lieberman continue in this path and put this ballot line in every state. When they launched this effort, this absurd, venal effort, one of the things that they did in their video promotion is they talked about how bad the two parties were. And the visual images they included were Donald Trump on the right and AOC on the left. And so they're ignoring the existence of Biden. Now, I don't think it works. I actually think No Labels has a real risk of collapsing in this effort, and I hope that they do. And I think that in general, if you listen to the way Bernie Sanders is talking about endorsing Joe Biden, I am quite confident right now that the actual extremes of the left are pretty severely marginalized. That's in general. At the margins, it's a little bit like, for example, when a judge gave a ruling that was really unhelpful. This is the judge with the abortion pill, and AOC comes out and says we should just ignore the ruling. Like AOC is siding with JD Vance. The two of them are both like, yeah, rulings that we don't like, we shouldn't do. And it makes it hard to build a coalition of donors around the rule of law. But in terms of general voters, I don't think it's a problem anymore. And I don't think we need to do more to fight back against it at the moment.
Well, they're good news and bad news for the left. They won't get bombed by super PACs, but that's because they've been thoroughly beaten down into the ground.
Yes.
Well, there you go. Congratulations. So 2 things to talk about here. Let's do the left first and then do the no label stuff. Because the no label stuff is newsy because he's one of the biggest money men in Democratic politics, and to have him kind of crusading against this no labels effort is interesting. But on the point about the left, what could be more demoralizing than having your opponent say out loud that they're not even worried about you anymore? Like you've been so smashed that, you know what? You guys can do your thing and we'll be annoyed every now and then by your tweets, but we're not even going to bother organizing big money against you.
Don't they do it because, why would they? Like AOC said she would back Biden. Bernie Sanders endorsed Joe Biden immediately, like didn't even hold on for a second. All of them, I haven't seen a peep from a single progressive Democratic lawmaker who has even advocated for the debate. Not even said like, okay, what if you're like, yeah, I support Joe Biden, but he shouldn't be a corner.
Oh, you'd be shouted down, like
you'd be killed. You'd be killed. Right.
And so they, in the last cycle, a bunch of candidates, progressive candidates, did make it through this kind of DMFI and Reid Hoffman gauntlet, but a lot of them did it by really trimming their sails, particularly on Israel-Palestine, and signing statements saying, like, I denounce BDS. I have never supported BDS. If I did, that was somebody else that supported it. Fetterman literally, which in my interview, he says they came very close to endorsing Conor Lamb, and because Conor Lamb was begging them for super PAC spending.
Right.
Fetterman literally let DMFI edit his statement on Israel-Palestine. Like, just campaign, just tell us what you want us to say. To
Why
not
do they care so much about Israel? Not the Democratic majority for Israel. Reid Hoffman and all of them. Like,
I think so.
Or are they
Dimitri,
separate?
yeah, it's interesting and worth exploring more.
I just don't get this.
But they have teamed up with DMFI. Like, they have the same consultants. Mark Mellman does the polling for mainstream Democrats. Reid Hoffman and Dimitri just seem to like kind of appreciate their political sensibilities. But it does raise a question like, okay, your main issue is that you think Trump is, and we could talk about this too, that Trump is a disease. Like that's Dimitri's kind of fundamental kind of analysis, that Trump is not the symptom of a broader thing, but Trump is the disease itself. So the only thing that matters is going after Trump. And I was like, but then why are you spending tens of millions of dollars on Israel-Palestine? Like that doesn't quite square.
Doesn't square at all. Yeah. I always find these so interesting. But I think you're right. The biggest news out of that is to the progressive Democrats. It's like the Mad Men meme. They're like, I don't think about you at all. Yeah. You are. It's like you are nothing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, no labels.
Yeah.
To call it. So he's come guns blazing.
Yes.
Absurd venal effort.
Right.
What do you think of? I actually agree with him that I think no labels hurts Biden more than it hurts Trump. But what are Republicans following this
No,
kind
they're
of
not,
no labels thing?
This is purely an establishment Dem thing, which is why I think it's funny. The Republicans are like, again, to the no labels, they're like, I'm not thinking about this. I'm not thinking that this is a strategy.
Right.
So to me, it's very much you doth protest too much about the no labels. Can you explain that for people who don't know what we're talking about?
Right. So No Labels is run by Nancy Jacobson and Mark Penn, although Mark Penn kind of denies that he has much involvement with it, although former staff from No Labels say that Mark Penn has done everything up to and including running the No Labels Twitter account.
Got it.
You can even hear his voice. Mark Penn, a former Clinton guy who became a Trump guy, very kind of toxic, polarizing, controversial figure in Democratic Party politics, who, because he's now so closely associated with Trump, has a lot of Democrats wondering, is this effort actually a Mark Penn scheme to kind of actually boost Trump? So they've raised $70 million, and they claim that they're going to be able to get ballot access in all 50 states, and will put on a centrist type of candidate. The people that get kicked around are Joe Manchin, Lisa Murkowski, Larry Hogan, like these types of figures.
Right.
And their argument is that 60+% of people say they don't want either Trump or Biden. Therefore, they will all vote for Joe Manchin and Larry Hogan, or Joe Manchin and Lisa Murkowski.
Yeah.
Doesn't really
I don't
scan.
think I just don't think it's that true. But,
No, it's not. It's because right. It's not true at all. I do think that they're right that if they did actually get on the ballot, that there are more people who would be moderate Republicans who don't like Trump, also don't like Biden.
Yes.
And without no labels on the ticket, they ended up voting for Biden. In this case, they just say, you know what, I like Larry Hogan. I'm voting for Larry Hogan.
Right.
And it ends up, if that pulls enough away in those couple battleground states.
certainly could see it.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Sagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.